All right, friends, welcome back. For whatever reason, I have no idea why I just had the urge to say, roll that beautiful bean footage. Maybe I'm showing my age here, but nonetheless, we are here. I'm excited for this episode. We're going to get kind of personal here. And this episode is really one that I rarely record. We're going to pull the curtain back and go behind the scenes and talk about coaching, okay? I'm doing it because I know there's so many of you guys, both watching and listening, that are telling yourselves all sorts of stories that's keeping you stuck, okay? So stories about money, being ready, being confident, whether you think you can figure all of this stuff out on your own. So my friend, grab your coffee. I have mine. If you're watching here on YouTube, I'm currently doing I intermittent fast randomly, I guess is the way to depending. It depends on my cycle. Okay. If you have ovaries, if you know, right? So today is intermittent fasting day. So I have my delicious bedazzled coffee, I will call it. So grab yours and let's dive in. All right. So the first thing that I want to tell you about is I want to tell you about Susie Q. Now, Susie Q is not her name, okay? Susie Q is a client of mine. And in, I would say late 25 or maybe mid 25 sometime, she came into my world. She signed up for my Myo Business Accelerator course. She was doing that in advance of opening her private practice in October of last year. Okay. So October 2025. And she wanted to be prepared. At least that's my understanding of the story back then. So she was a certified therapist. She, I don't know where she took her training. That doesn't matter, but she was a certified therapist. So she was confident in her clinical skills and she was really looking forward to opening her private practice. At the time she was doing, she had partnered with another dentist, I believe. So she was doing some myo in an office setting. Okay. So like I said, she was already trained. She was already confident clinically. So, she did the MBA program. October came, she opened her doors, and in between October and January, she was stuck. Okay, I at one time I had gotten an email from her. She was asking to do a coaching call, and so we offered a coaching spot to her. She did not want to pay for it. And which makes sense because she was struggling financially. Her business was struggling. So in January of this year, where we started doing the free Unstuck calls, and I do those for this exact reason, so that rather than just going back and forth talking in an email, you and I get to talk face to face, and I get to help you with one thing. So you're getting to meet me one-on-one personally. I'm helping you with something. I'm helping you get traction so that you can see the direction that I want to take you. And then it also opens up the conversation of what it would look like for you to work with me. Okay. So I did that Unstuck call with her in January. Her business had been open 3 months. She had, I don't know if it was zero income. It might have been zero, but if anything, it was zero consistent revenue. Okay. So she was all over the place. She was also all over the place when I talked with her about like, hey, what are you experiencing? Because my goal in these calls is to see where you're at. I want to get a lay of the land when we do an Unstuck call. Where are you at? What have you tried? Where do you want to go? And what do you need to get there? Okay. And am I that piece to take you there? So at the time, she was experiencing desperation mindset, really a lack mentality. Okay. She had a complete lack of focused priorities. Okay. So that first free call, I gave her homework. Okay. She was going to work on 4 things: block butt in chair business hours on her calendar. I have an episode about that. We'll make sure that that's in the show notes. If you know, you know, but that's when you say you're doing business, that's when you're going to have your butt in the chair doing business. If I ring a ding ding and call you up, you're going to be working on something that's moving the needle in your business. Okay. So that was the first piece of homework. The second one was to get specific on her who. My friend, if you have been with me for any amount of time, you should know what I mean by know your who. Okay. That's your ideal customer. That's your easy peasy dreamy customer. We want to build your business around those people, and we want to build boundaries around the pain in the asses, okay? The people who are not your ideal customer. Then she needed to create an irresistible offer, okay? And then she needed to pick one marketing platform and stick with it. So I gave her that homework, okay? Yeah, those are pretty big, beefy tasks, but I wanted her to walk away from that free coaching with something valuable and meaningful, okay? So I gave that to her. I also laid out what 6 months of coaching with me would look like, okay? Working with me inside a coaching container. We would work on time management, mindset, business systems, pricing, building street cred with her audience, because that was one thing I felt like what she was already doing was she didn't have enough street cred to be charging what she was charging. And also she had things kind of packaged together where she was bundling the exam in with a package, which I see how she was doing it. But what I was interpreting this as is that she was asking somebody, hey, pay me $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever her price was, pay that to me before I've even done your exam and before you even know anything about my expertise or my confidence or what kind of attitude or belief am I going to bring to the table? Because remember, your client is going to mirror this back to you. So that's what I meant by building street cred. Okay. So I also gave her the link to sign up for coaching. In this conversation, she still did not think that that she could afford coaching, and I get it. She wasn't having consistent revenue. Okay, so meanwhile, I think she was working on the homework. She was just kind of spinning, and then one day, I think February rolled around, or late January maybe. Sorry, I have to have some more of my delicious bedazzled coffee. February rolled around and something shifted for her. I saw that she was signed up, okay? So I was super excited. Her situation, 3 months in, she was already ready to close the door, okay? So I think she just really realized like this was make or break. She needed to do this. So she said yes. She got signed up, not because she suddenly, had picked up extra $100 bills laying on the sidewalk, but I think she realized that the cost of staying stuck was greater than the cost of getting help. So we jumped in. Okay, fast forward. I met with her. So that was early January. So I met again for her first coaching session, the beginning of February. We started working on her who. We started talking about setting prices. You can't dial your prices in until you know who that who is. We talked about her getting more efficient with her comprehensive exam. Not only was she charging a lot for an exam. And you guys, I never tell somebody what to charge, but it's a numbers game. I would much rather have more people book an exam because then, you're one person closer to a conversion. It's a numbers game. You have to get bodies to make them an offer for them to say yes to you, okay? So the more exams you do, the more possibilities that you're going to have to land a client. The other thing is if you're like me, and the way I look at it is you have to hear no's, especially if you have a premium priced offer. You have to hear more no's, but that yes is so glorious, okay? I would rather work with one $5,000 client than 5 $1,000 clients. So that means I'm going to hear no more often until I get to that $5,000 yes. That means I need bodies, okay? So she also needed to get efficient with her comprehensive exam. I think she was booking 2 hours for it and then taking like 2 hours to do a report. Okay, my friend. Well, I would be making more money working at Chick-fil-A if that's the case. So you have to get efficient. Okay. Yes, you as a business newbie might not be attaching that you have a price that is for every minute of your time, but it truly is. Okay. So that's what we did in February. Then in February, our next session, this is what we worked on. So the reason I'm breaking this down for you guys is because this isn't fluff. This isn't just you come to coaching and lay on the couch and tell me about all your feelings. If you come to coaching and tell me that you're overwhelmed, I'm going to say that's a decision. And choosing to stay there is also a decision, okay? So this is work. So I have her notes pulled up, like exactly what we worked on. So that second session, we, as I always do in every coaching session, we evaluate what worked, what didn't work, and what needs to be done differently, because we don't build businesses based on how we feel, okay? We build businesses based on the data. What's it telling us? And we can't change things around every month or we're never going to get any data, okay? So, but you have to evaluate. That's the important thing. And so if you have no idea what you're evaluating, how are you knowing if you're getting any better? How do you know if you're getting closer or further from the goal? Not a good thing. So we always start by evaluating what worked, what didn't work, and what you would do differently. Next, we talked about her most creative time, because when it comes to marketing, if she feels like a bag of pounded dog poop by Fridays, which is exactly the case, she's not going to do her most creative work. That's not when I want her doing her marketing. That's not when I want her writing a high value blog for her customers, is on Friday when she's pooped. Okay. So we determined that was going to be Wednesday, first thing in the morning. Gosh, I can't talk. So then we made changes to her butt in chair business hours. We moved her client fulfillment time to Fridays when she's not at the top of her game creatively, but she can go through exercises. Okay. We did preliminary work on her Lola, as we call it. Your Lola is your ideal customer. Lola, for me, is probably you if you're watching this. If you are a trained myofunctional therapist who is stuck and not earning any money, you are Lola. If you are a bored, burned out dental hygienist who is just desperate to get out of hygiene and all of that stuff, but you're not already clinically trained, my friend, you're Sarah. Okay. I know you guys in and out. That's what I want you to do with your ideal customer. So we also evaluated who her Facebook audience is, because that's the one marketing platform that she wants to use. We evaluated her metrics. Do you even know how to find these? Okay. These are the business things that I'm telling you that your training program probably didn't go over. So we evaluated that her Facebook audience was 29% women aged 35 to 44. So that aligns. You want that metric to align with your Lola, who you're doing marketing to. We also talked about therapy offer, pricing, and payment plans. So in this coaching session, we talked about her ideal customer. We looked at her therapy programs and payment plans. We discussed setting them up on Squarespace. We talked about a family member discount. I teach discovering your happy pricing. So this is the price where it's above your resentment level and also below your I'm going to barf all over level. Okay. I don't tell you the exact dollar figure because there's so many things that come into that, but you and I find that together something that you're happy with. We also talked about whether she was going to implement what I call a quick decision offer into her practice. We talked about streamlining her client journey. To shorten that comprehensive exam time. So I gave her ideas for that. She got homework for that. We talked about, let's see what else here. Some time management stuff. The butt in business chair stuff is not a suggestion, you guys. It's a rule. It's a rule. If you want to build a multi-million-dollar practice like yours truly, you got to do it. We talked about marketing, how she's going to reach her Lola. And so you guys, you'll hear me say this time and time again if you haven't already heard it, but when you post something to social media, first of all, when you post and you ghost, that hurts you. But also social media, you guys, that's not where you build your business. That is if it is shown to your audience, and if you have 75 followers and it shows it to 3% of your audience or maybe 6% of your audience, it's gone in like 6 minutes. TikTok is much faster, like less than a minute, especially if you're new there. So when you post something just randomly on social media with no teeth, with no plan, with no problem solution focus, with no call to action, without knowing what the hell you're going to do with that person, even if they do reach out to you, it's a waste of your time. But you need to be thinking about this long term, kind of as we go through coaching. So we talked about that. So that was her second coaching, you guys. Now, let's get into her third, okay? We've done 3 coachings. So when I saw her just a few weeks ago, we talked about how changing your attitude makes a difference, because things were going well for her. Between the first and the second session, she had changed her attitude, which made a big difference. My friend, you got to turn the frown upside down and just realize that overwhelm is a choice, okay? You choose to stay there. Overwhelm is just opportunity, okay? Overwhelm is just excitement. But so many of you guys use the, oh, I feel so overwhelmed as an excuse, like your get out of jail free card. Well, it does nothing for you, okay? So we talked about that. We also, in her third session the other day, we had a what I call, here, hold my beer moment, because she was telling me that she had done therapy for somebody who hadn't paid. So like lickety split. We had some boundaries, okay? You guys, we all learn lessons. I have not ever made that mistake. I have mailed a kit to somebody that wasn't paid for therapy, and then she changed her mind. Thank God she sent the kit back to me, which was really kind of her. But friend, it's a terrible idea. I don't care what the situation is. I do not do any work that I haven't been paid for. And she had done work not only for one client, but for 4. Okay, so that very quickly was that got filed into the do not ever do this again folder. Okay, so I joke because it was like, here, hold my beer. I'm going to show you how to never let this happen to you again. And then we got into manual tasks that need to be automated. Okay, that was the thing, is she was hand doing everything. And you guys, if you want anything more than a hobby in this world of myofunctional therapy, you've got to have systems. You have to have organization. You have to have standard operating procedures. You can't do everything for free and manual, okay? And she wasn't even doing it for free. She was just doing it manually. You need to have systems that are going to send your offers, which, I mean, I have to hit the send button, but I have templates already built out. Invoicing is automatic. Scheduling is automatic. I am not sitting in my emails or DMs going back and forth with somebody trying to find an appointment time. And I never, ever, ever do an exam that isn't paid for, period. End of story. I don't play bill collector. I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm never going to do it. Okay, so that's what we went over when I saw her the other day. We worked on her I help statement. We talked about automation software. She had shortened her exam time down from 2 hours, and she was trying to shorten it a little bit further. So I pushed her to get a deadline. You guys, you have to have a deadline. You and I both know if you don't put some more teeth in the goal, you're never going to get there. Okay. That is a way different of a goal. That's like saying, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds versus I want to lose 10 pounds by June 30th. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. What else? She had decided on prices and payment plans, and that was it. Okay. So that just gives you kind of, in a nutshell, without me going on and on, where she started, when she came to me, and she was frustrated. She had a terrible down in the frown attitude, not towards me, but just she was just really frustrated. Felt like maybe it was her location, where she was at, and she had made all of the excuses. She had the lack mindset, that desperation mindset. She wasn't focused. She didn't know what to work on, and so she was just really spiraling. So when you have somebody to just kind of grab you by the collar and move you systematically through the steps that you should be doing, what you should be doing in those steps, things changed. And I just have to tell you that the planning for this podcast could not be more timely, because I had already planned this podcast, and over the weekend I got her email and it says, "Things are going well. I have exciting news. My last month was $12K. That just gives me the warm and fuzzies all over. So that's Susie Q. Now, going back to this whole I can't afford it story, I have totally been here, you guys. I have sat in the I can't afford it story longer than I want to admit. And every month that I waited, and every month that I told myself that I would just figure it out on my own, it cost me money. I'm kind of embarrassed to think about probably how much it cost me. And I probably don't want to know. And it wasn't just revenue, you guys. It's not just the dollars, it's time, it's opportunities. It's the life that you're trying to build. So I finally learned the hard truth. And the line from one of my business mentors that changed everything for me is that nobody builds a multi-million-dollar business alone. Boom. End of story, okay? Let me say that again, because that's the take-home message from this whole episode. Nobody builds this type of business alone. You can DIY it for so long, okay? You can only Google it for so long. You can only consume free resources and listen to every podcast and join every Facebook group for so long. But that free stuff that's out there, my friend, it's free, okay? It's going to get you to the doorway, but it is not going to get you across the threshold. Every single person who creates that free content out there is trying to teach you the value of what they do, what they bring to the table. They're trying to build that know, like, and trust factor with you. They're trying to build that expertise and that authority and that trustworthiness with you. But their goal, just like it's not my goal to give you every piece of intellectual property that lives in this brain. No, the real value is trying to teach you that the next step is where you have to go deeper, okay? That is the real shift. So for myself, I put my money where my mouth is. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching and my own education for my business. Tens of thousands. I'm guessing it's probably 6 figures. And I'm not done. I'm still investing. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm starting a $9,000 class in 2 weeks, okay? I am not stupid enough to think that I can do this alone. And this benefits you because I'm the knowledge broker. I invest all this money into myself to get the knowledge, to test it in my business, to distill it down and twist it and pull it apart and figure out how I can help you apply it to your business. And then I teach you what you need. Okay, I didn't do it alone. I'm not doing it alone, and I will never do it alone, because I don't want this couple $1,000,000 business to stop there. I want it to be way bigger than that. And I want you to know that that's probably how you're going to get your business either off the ground or growing. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few things here about what coaching actually is. Okay, so a lot of people get this wrong. The first thing, coaching is not information, it's pattern recognition. So you can have all the information in the world, you can save every course, you can read every book, you can watch every YouTube video. You can do all of that, but what you can't see is your own blind spots or your own weaknesses, okay? Your coach is going to see what you're missing And it's going to be easily identifiable because they've already walked you down that path. Okay. The new course that I'm starting next month, I'm paying somebody $9,000 knowing that I will get a return on my investment because she is a few million steps ahead of me. I want to learn from her. Okay. Now, Susie Q, she had all the information. She had all the information. She wasn't putting it to use. She just wasn't doing anything. She had enrolled in my MBA course and then hadn't even done that work, or very little. Okay. I guess I can't say that she hadn't done any, but she hadn't done what she should. Okay. She hadn't put 150% effort into it. She was not honoring herself. She was not honoring her investment by actually doing the work. Okay. And I saw that in the first session. She was crapping out on herself. She'd make a plan, not follow it. She would set something up and like business hours and not protect it. She had everything set up wrong so that when it got to Friday and she was supposed to work on her business, she didn't feel like it, okay? That doesn't help you be motivated to do anything. You can't recognize Google can't recognize your shortcomings, your weaknesses. I mean, Google tells me what they are because I have highly specific tools that are telling me what y'all are searching for and what y'all are struggling with. But you can't solve that problem. You can't YouTube your way into a profitable myofunctional therapy business. You can't YouTube your way into seeing your own blind spots, okay? Number 2, coaching is not a quick fix. It's a relationship. This is the part that most people get wrong. Coaching is not just buy the program, get the clients, okay? So many people, once we get into coaching, they just think like they pay to coach with me and they're just going to get what I have. It takes showing up week after week with somebody who knows your business, knows your patterns, knows your blind spots, knows where you're hiding, knows where you're making excuses, and won't let you stay there, okay? I talk about this being building a relationship. I have business coaching clients that I've been working with for 2 years, okay? This isn't always just a one and done. I have many clients that come in and they continue coaching. My podcast coach, okay? I spent $5,000 to get into my podcast program. Do you think that I'm going to reinvest? Yes, because I'm seeing so much value from it. So I'm going to reinvest to stay in that program so that I can go to the coaching every month so that I can grow my business. So it's not just a one and done type of thing. Now, sometimes it is. Sometimes you go get what you need and then you get out of there and then you invest in something else. I literally have a budget category for personal development every year, and so should you. Okay, let's look at the next thing. So coaching is not for people who have it all together, okay? Coaching is for people who are willing to stop pretending that they do. And so, yes, there are masterminds and coaching levels for everybody, millionaire, billionaire status, okay? And those people do definitely have their poop in a group, but they don't have it all figured out. And that's why they go into coaching containers with somebody else who has maybe just that one skill set that they want to work on. Every single student who has ever walked into my program, every single one has come in scattered, scared, unsure, disorganized, overwhelmed. I will say that because they all say that, every single one, okay? Coaching isn't the reward that you get to do after you build the business and have everything put together. Coaching is how you get there. How do you think Susie Q went from, hey, I have no income, to having a $12,000 month, okay? Now we have to keep testing and doing the things that she's been doing to repeat that revenue, but that's a sure way to, put some wind in your sails, is earn some money, right? Let me see. So the last thing, 4th, okay? I hear this so much, and Susie Q was an example. I can't afford it. Okay. When you guys tell me that you can't afford it, it is most often something else. Okay. This is a hard one because I see it a lot. Sometimes it genuinely is true, okay? But most of you guys don't come to me who is well known for premium therapy and for a very expensive training program. You don't come to me if you don't have two nickels to rub together, okay? You say that because it's something else. Most of the time, you're telling me you can't afford something, and it's because I'm scared. I don't believe this will work for me. I'm scared to bet on myself. I'd rather hold on to staying stuck than take a risk on something different. Or, my husband won't let me. Like I said, I know that there are truth to the matter, but if you have ever listened to my episodes where I talk about figuring out your bottom line, figuring out your enough, many of you guys could reframe your finances and quit spending money on stupid shit so that you could actually invest in coaching so that you can build your business. Okay. So, what you need to hear if you're that person that's saying, hey, I can't afford it, is the cost of staying stuck is always worse than the cost of getting unstuck. Okay. There is nothing that you're ever going to, if you go to a good coaching program, you're always going to get a return on investment. Every single time I invest thousands and thousands of dollars, I get what I went for. Okay. But I show up, I do the work. And that's what many of you guys are not doing. Just truth. Let me see here. What else is in my notes? I think that's it. I think we beat it all to death. Okay, so here's what I want you to do with this information. Just one question. I want you to sit and think about this. Where am I telling myself that I can't afford something that I'm actually just scared to do? Or scared to try, okay? Just sit with it. You don't have to rush into an answer. Just kind of let it simmer. And then you can go from there. So you have options. You can always book a call with me. You can go to the Profitable Myofunctional Therapist Facebook community. That's where you start. If you're not trained, you get into the Learn Myofunctional Therapy in 60 Days program. Or if you're already trained and you're stuck, my friend, you have to come to the Profitable Myofunctional Therapist. So wherever you are listening to this, watching it, we'll make sure you have all the information. That is about as honest as I can get about coaching. But here's what I want you to remember. You can DIY it for so long, okay? You can Google for so long. You can collect every free resource that everybody puts out. And I see you guys doing it. Okay. And you can listen to every podcast. So many of you guys, so many of my own students are just listening to my podcast, and they also aren't taking time to do any of the work. So the free stuff, it runs out of real estate at some point. And then the thing that stands between where you are and where you want to go is actually making an investment and the willingness to stop trying to figure it out alone, okay? Remember what I said, nobody builds a multi-million-dollar business alone. Even if you want a six-figure business, even if you could care less about multi-million-dollar and you would just love a six-figure business, I can guarantee you that there are CEO skills that you need that you don't have that you're going to have to pay somebody, okay? Quit duct taping and praying to get your business off the ground. Just know that you're going to benefit from coaching, okay? So sit with the question, be honest about the answer. I'd love to see you in the Facebook community. And that's a lot. But I am so glad that I got to share that story about Susie Q with you. And I hope when she listens to this podcast, Susie Q, I hope you know how incredibly proud I am of you, how much progress you have had in such a short amount of time. So you guys, go build a life that you are bonkers about. That's what I want you to do. And if you're having trouble building that life you're bonkers about, then guess what? You need to be in the Profitable Myofunctional Therapist. And I'm going to help you. Maybe we can get you to those $12,000 months, which would just be lovely. So that's all I have, my friend. I will be back soon, and we will talk about more ways to start, grow, and simplify your myofunctional therapy business.